Ben?
Supervise them while they're chewing.
You're there? Okay,
They don't
thank
want
you,
to
appreciate
sue
you
them
letting us know.
if something happens.
All right, I have a thumbs up. So ladies and gentlemen, it is 11 o'clock. We'll begin our board work session. This is in preparation
Small
for our
crowd.
meeting of Tuesday, October the 4th, which is our first meeting of the month, our regular meeting. And there's not really a work session agenda, but we'll go over our agenda. But what we've got first up is Mr. Williams is going to give us a little detail on the bill grant, where we are on it, as we enjoyed one another's company yesterday for the revision of the resolution for the ARPA money. The bill grant plays into that, and so I've asked Chris to give y'all all an update on the cost factor associated with what we're seeing today. What the rest of the world is also seeing, as we all know, is costs are going up. Construction costs, material costs, labor costs, assuming you can find labor.
Yeah,
and so,
I did find some, thank
yeah,
you.
good. And so we are now at a point where he can give us as deep a view as we want to see. He's got on the screen over there, he's got some line items that show it, but the overview is here. And so what we'll do is we'll see how many questions are generated by the overview, and see how deeply you want to go into some of those cost differentials between MDOT and the other, who did the other one?
Kimley
Horn, thank you, the engineers did it, yes.
MDOT's estimate
Yeah,
are the two that we have.
Knew that and had a brain fart, okay.
So overview is what you got in front of you on that side of it. So the $19 million, 19 million and some change there, that's the number that we got back from MDOT last week that we just talked about shortly yesterday. That was originally $15 million, so we're 3.8 higher than what our engineer's estimate was, and that's what we have up on the screen as far as that goes whenever we go through all these, and if y'all want to see exactly where that $4 million bust came from. With that, the overview of it is, so we're actually 3.8 lower than what that one was on the engineer's estimate. So you're about 900,000 low in removal, so demolition, $500,000 low. We were, as far as engineer's cost estimate for concrete, 1.4 low sidewalks, 1.1 million low in maintenance of traffic, and 1.2 low in mobilization. So those are your big chunks there. And then they were also saying that MDOT, that the engineer's estimate was $600,000 higher than MDOT's estimate. So the 3.8 is saying that we were high on electrical as far as that goes. So if you look at that, that's that 19 million at the very top that you see, that's your construction cost there. Your design engineering was Kimley Horn, so that's the stuff that you paid to get your plans ready. So that's on that one. The next line item is construction engineering and inspection. So that's the 2.38 million there. So that's not been, that's not under contract yet. We've gone back and forth with Neil Schaefer on that one, on there, and then we was actually at MDOT for review right now on that line item. And so that will be coming before the board shortly to discuss that contract. Your off corridors, 1.8 million on that one, and that number is inclusive of your engineering cost. And then contingencies 5%, so that gets you 26,300,000 is what your project budget is right now. So then if you go on below there, your bill grants, 2.6 million. Your local match, so the reason I did this line item out that you see right there is local match, non-federal sources. So that's the portion that, so either we get ARPA or we get our match money for that grant, you can't use that towards this 20% match because it has to be non-federal dollars on that one. So I wanted to make sure that y'all knew that, and that know that that portion of it we have to pay for with something that's not federally backed. And so then you do that, so your local remaining is that 11, and so the total local cost is at 13,600,000 and some change there. So and we talked about yesterday, we've asked for putting $5 million towards it for ARPA, and then the $5 million match. So if you know, that's counting your chickens before they hatch, but if you did, then they get you down to 3.5 is what you're looking at.
Yes,
Is the additional cost that's run this thing up, part of it, the cost of the water and sewer and utilities that we're going to put in? Would it be paid for through ARPA, or is that just included in this additional cost that's run this thing up?
The MDOT actually has that on lower, so our engineering estimate was a little bit higher than theirs was on the water sewer side. The drainage side is about a wash on that, and we can kind of, well, it's actually That, the drainage, that Class B minor structures, that would be on the drainage side, so that
Well,
would
we
be.
had planned
that.
the drainage in initially, right? We had
Right.
not planned, said, when front end, Mayor, water, building, we didn't have water and sewer line replacement in there. So that, the cost of the water and sewer, that's driven the cost up, but it would be paid for.
It was in the 15 on that side.
It was in the 15.
It was in the 15. So, and like I said, we can go through and get actual line item by line item, but those were the big things.
The
So
water sewer was included in the 15.
it was on that side. And MDOT's not really, they didn't say we were off by a lot on that one as far as those line items goes, except for the portion of the drainage on the boxes. The inlet boxes is what they were saying that they were off on that number for. So demolition and drainage boxes.
And those numbers, and did you have something else? Those numbers, those engineering numbers, those first set of numbers are 2 years old now?
I don't
A
know
year
when they were
old?
updated last, as far as that goes, and then MDOT updates their numbers every quarter, so it depends on when they pulled or that type of thing. On
So
that one.
I think we've been working with a number for 2 or 3 years.
Well, let's see about, Edward, you were on the front end of this. Are these new engineering
I think
numbers?
the 15 million is, the timeline on that estimate is probably early summer, late spring.
Last year?
This year.
This year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fairly current then.
Fairly current, yeah.
And then the bottom line is, these are estimates, and until we get bids,
Yes, and so we actually have on the agenda permission to advertise, and as long as MDOT, whenever they approve it, then we can advertise. And so that's correct. So pretty much the 19 million is MDOT's estimate, their guess. The 15 million was our engineers, their guess, but until we have a hard bid number, you're correct, these are estimates. And so it's a lot that goes into what a contractor prices out. So, but you will have, as soon as we bid, then you have hard bid numbers to go off of.
okay. And
How long, I'm sorry, how long do you think it'll take them to bid on this? Because this is detailed stuff.
It is, with coming into so usually, it's about a month is what you would do. With the holidays on that, we probably would stretch this out with it being detailed work. So if it was me, I would say that we've been at this for so many years already. I would say a couple extra weeks, probably a good idea to try to stretch that out and have a discussion with the contractors. And then what you ought to do, I've done before too, is you can say the month, the requirement, and then contractors come back and say, hey, I need some more time to dig on this, or you can get some pushback to it on that side of it. So there's no, you can extend the bid deadline or something along those lines if we have something along those. But you're correct, it'd probably be good to give them some time to really dig into it and try to sharpen their pencil for force.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
well, and what I was going to say was, for those of us that have been through various iterations of this, we've added 2 or 3 years ago a mill to cover the city's share of that. So the intention was always to be using that mill to pay for it as we went, until we got to the point that we were starting to get big invoices in, and then we would bond that out. So depending on how ARPA shakes out, we would be bonding somewhere between 2.5 and whatever we might need if ARPA doesn't fall
Well, and
into
I'm
our
hearing,
laps.
and Mr. Latimer also heard the same thing. I met with our lobbyists yesterday, and one of the things that they are hearing is that there is probably adequate ARPA money out there because there are a number of communities who've already spent their ARPA funds. And so they are anticipating that there will be enough ARPA money for that dollar-to-dollar match. So we will continue to keep our fingers crossed, or we might not get it in the first round, that we will have a good shot at getting it in the second round. And so I am certainly hopeful that will be the case, because that would ease all of us and let all of us sleep better at night, with particularly with this project.
But the bottom line is, if all these costs bear out, we're going to be a little over $11 million short.
We're 13 million is what you're paying for right now. Everything fell apart type thing as far as your grant applications and that type of stuff are figuring out. So I'm saying the local money right now that's not billed is the 13. That's that very bottom number.
Right.
So it depends on how much you want to put to ARPA and how much you get grants and that type
And
of
ARPA can only go for stormwater and water sewer, right?
So that's what the numbers that we put in for, like, that you could push towards that would be about 10 million on there. So it would be eligible as far as that goes on that portion of it.
So Mayor, on this thing, if it is apparently got up running pretty good. And we have capacity to bond out some of it. Now that mill that serves the debt 2.5, I mean, we've already issued bonds.
We've not issued those bonds. We will
We're
issue.
just paying that out of what it generates right now.
Yes. Because we've not had those huge invoices here. They've been hundreds of thousands of dollars as opposed to millions of dollars.
Will this get bid, and it will, in pieces, where if we're forced to have to pick and choose what we do on this in order to afford it? I mean,
So that's another thing to talk about. So how the federal projects work is you have to, so whenever you do a federal project, it's from point A to point B. So whenever you do this, it's kind of an all or nothing as far as you have to start at this location and your project has to go to there. You can take some things out, but the stuff that you're able to take out would be landscaping, benches. So pretty much you have to have a working project from one end to the other. So what I'm saying is you could carve some of that, but you're not going to carve.
It's not going to be material.
It's not going to be a lot of money that you can because of. So what I'm saying is you can't say, well, I don't want to do all the way through there. I'm going to start at this end and I'm going to go to Jackson right now. This is what I can afford. The federal project is A to B. Now these other projects, you're committed on that side of it if you go that route, on that portion of it. These other projects that we're doing like Main Street, we'd be able to phase those or add alternates or that type of thing because we don't have those federal requirements on those.
If we bid this work and we accept the bid, then we're contractually obligated to pay for it. Now, I assume we have a funding mechanism in place to pay for this. If this thing runs up 24, 25, 26 million or something, and you mentioned bonds a while ago, but I mean, would we be depending on another round of ARPA that we don't know whether we're going to get, or some other type of funding, or like a grant? No, you can't use another grant, federal grant money in this.
For the 2.5, we can't use it for the 2.5 piece of.
Where would our funding come from?
Well, I would say that you said about 10 million is ARPA eligible, and we control 5 million of that. So there's really only $5 million of exposure with ARPA money because that's the state match. So of the 13 million, we already are having to pay for 2.5 million, and then we've got 5 million of ARPA, so that's 7.5 million. That gets us down to about 6 million that we would need to pay for, that we would need to probably roll into bonds.
Yes, sir.
So Chris, what you saying, we can't piecemeal it, but we got to start from Long Street and go all the way to Old West Point Road.
Yes.
So in other words, we're committed to do that.
Well, and you are in that it's all or nothing type thing. Like I said, you could try to trim, and there's some things that we can look at, and I can ask and find out exactly with MDOT what we can and can't. But what I'm saying is you're not going to be able to take that and shrink it down and say, oh, this is what I've got. And we're not the only project that's in this. Talking with some of the guys in the state, there's one that's actually got a $25 million overrun on their project. So the prices and the budgets and everything. So it's not a one-off. Is what I'm saying on that.
We couldn't be doing this at a worse time.
Unfortunately, I wouldn't think about trimming it down, but we've been dealing with this too long. We've been committed.
Exactly. Exactly.
We go ahead on. When is the starting date?
Well, they've been at it. AT&T's been burying their stuff. Everybody's been doing the underground piece. Edward's been preparing. He's been cutting trees off of Garrett Road, which I've been hearing about, to move some of those power lines off to shift that power off.
Right.
So we've been doing things,
Yeah,
but the actual construction would be like the spring of next year.
Depending on when MDOT gets everything back and with contractors in there, I'd say the first part of the year, February, March, probably about the quickest that you'd see stuff getting turned. And that'd be probably for this larger project, that'd probably be pretty good, pretty active to be able to do that.
And we're hopeful that by December, maybe January, that first round of ARPA applications will have been processed, and we'll know something about that first round.
I'm hearing maybe within 30 days.
That would be grand.
When you say
Of the
first round, that's
submission.
is that the match of the 6.2?
They divvy their money into pots, and they're only using a certain amount of it in round one, and they'll process those applications, and then they'll open up a second round with more money. So
How much is our round one?
we've submitted the full 13.2 for the full dollar for dollar match.
So that would be like another 6.2 in addition to what we already have in the bank, 6.2. How much of the bill grant is committed, how much of the cost, how much is allocated? How much of the bill grant is ARPA money being spent on the bill grant for stuff that's permitted, like water and sewer, stormwater? How much is that down there, or the estimates for what that would run?
So the bill grant is for the project, and so how it works out is the federal government says you have the.
I mean bill grant, I'm sorry, ARPA funds for the bill grant for water and sewer and stormwater. How much is that going to cost of the bill in the bill grant project?
Of this 26
Oh,
million,
that's what I'm saying is
about
like
10,
about
about 10
is what
million.
you could put towards it that would be eligible, so, and that's including the actual pipe and then everything that's above it is tied to it type of thing.
We can spend $10 million down there on water and sewer and stormwater.
Right.
Stormwater.
And whenever you look at these numbers, so stormwater is more than the pipe itself. So you have to look at it more than that line item. That's all the dirt that goes above it, that's the road that goes above it, that's what you had to rip out to go down and lay to it. So you can't just lay that pipe.
So
in a
Chris
vacuum.
has been analyzing it to the
So-
depth to get that number. I mean, he spent a lot of time digging down and finding what it would cost to do that, and that's strictly related to water, sewer, and stormwater.
Mayor, can I tag that point real quick?
Yes, sir, you may.
So, Anthony said a couple of times about allowable ARPA uses. Remember, ARPA uses are broader than water, sewer, and stormwater, but to get the dollar for dollar match, the field
Right,
narrows
State of
to
Mississippi
water,
said,
sewer.
they've narrowed it up
That's
to
right.
what you get a match
That's
for.
right.
So that's when I think ARPA, I'm thinking of what the state, because we're already committing dollar for dollar match stuff into this project, so I assume we're gonna have to follow state guidelines in addition to ARPA.
So that's why the scope is.
Right.
And on that side, what I'm saying is, there's stuff like the construction staking, there's stuff that you're gonna have a construction stake that goes to water, sewer, drainage. There's stuff that's maintenance of traffic, that, hey, you've gotta maintain traffic and you're putting in water, sewer, drainage. So it's putting, that $10 million is putting the stuff that it's gonna have to do to get that in the ground and having it take care of that as well, type thing.
So when will we bid these,
We've got it on the agenda for this board.
And that might, well, that's permission to advertise.
That's what I mean, yes,
Right.
we gotta start there.
On that side of it, but, and maybe a good thing to look at this and see is when we're gonna get to know back for these type things, and then seeing about, and we have to talk with them about what they require, what they'll allow, but maybe we have the contractor hold their bid for a little bit longer, or let's sit down and figure out when we think we'll hear back, and so that way you'll have a bid number, and then you'll have a long enough time to have that decision to make those behind it.
Yeah, the bids are usually good for 60 days, 30
You
days?
can put what you want on there, 45 to 60 is
Yeah.
what I've seen them go a little bit. You don't want to go too crazy with it because then the contractors are putting
Too
more
far
money
out.
to it.
Mhm.
Well, because what happens is, especially with materials, whenever, if you say a 90-day hold on your bids, then their contracts, they have to cover themselves on materials, because I've had some vendors tell me that for a while that they wouldn't hold a price for more than a week, and even then it was hard. And some of them were saying, like, when it was at the very peak, you pretty much had to put an order in whenever they quoted you to have that price held. So you have to have a little bit of leeway there, but if we're at 45 days now and MDOT's fine with us holding them 60, and then we try to hit the bids, so say we extend out the length of time that we advertise it, so they've got time to look at it hard, and then we hold the bid a little bit longer, so that way y'all have a window that you feel comfortable that you'll get your ARPA response back on your match money.
Let me check in. Alderman Carver, anything, I don't want to forget about you, any questions from you?
No, ma'am, I was just wondering on 2 ARPA rounds, what kind of timeline is it?
We're not sure. We're not sure right now. It's sort of up in the air, but I'm hearing maybe 30 days that that MDEQ will turn around the first application process. It probably won't be, but because that sounds kind of short, but hopefully 60 days at the latest, and we'll get the first round of who gets that first round of money, and then after that, I'm hearing March for the next round. So, but that's all just kind of hearsay. So.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone?
Just a quick.
Yes, sir.
So, Budget Chair, if we bond the $6 million, we use the $1 million to try to service the debt on that. I'm just looking at, I'm not so sure that'll quite cover that.
Well, hopefully there'll be some squishiness in the budget and we can cover it with that.
Where would the squishes come from?
I don't know.
I don't think we've got any squishiness,
You guys
guys.
who didn't want squishiness are gonna
All
have to
right.
figure that one out.
But I have a question, is that, can we sign contracts for this work to be done with the money not in place, the mechanism not in place?
Sure.
We're pledging the full faith and credit to the City of
Sure.
Starkville, to their debt obligations to pay for this project and find whatever means necessary to do so.
Sure. I mean,
We're
we
not
don't
working
have
out-
to, we
and
don't
not
have
working out
to, we don't have to,
time.
we don't have to show them the cash, but
We just have to pay for it.
we
Well,
just
I'm
have to say,
saying-
when the bill
We-
comes due, we gotta pay
You got a
it.
pretty good idea how we put this money together?
I think it's gonna be bonded, what we don't get from ARPA, I think we'll
Yeah,
bond.
just remember, we've still got the 6.3, that is ours to do with as we choose. What we're doing with it, just like you said, is the things that will allow it for the dollar for dollar match. And that's what we're counting on to keep us from having to do an extraordinary amount of bonding, period.
And we won't spend $19 million by next August.
Oh, no,
So
2020.
we'll be doing,
26,
we'll be doing another
25,
budget, and
25,
we'll be doing another budget, and if it requires additional funds, we'll have another opportunity in a future budget to look for additional
Does it have a
funding.
brand or a general contractor, but it with pieces under, you got one
Yes.
contractor?
You have one contractor for it, so it'll be one contractor with subcontractors for it. Is how you'll have to, because I mean, this with the electrical portion, I think you're 7 million for electrical. You got some deep sewers, some deep gravity. So I mean, you're gonna have 2 or 3 specialty
So
contractors.
the
on
general
it.
contractor's gonna be dealing with the person with the stormwater, water, sewer, all the components of this thing, but there'll be an overall general that does this.
We'll have a contract with one person as far as that
What do
goes.
you think that is, what are the ballparks on what that general contract is gonna be?
Well, I mean,
With
that'll
the
be
front end of
19.
this.
Yeah,
13
19.
million?
Yeah, 19
19
million,
million.
right, 400,000. That's what that guess is on that, as far as the estimate goes. That's your, on that portion of it.
Okay. Anything else? Any other details you want from what Chris has got on the schedule up there? Okay.
And then
All right.
the only other thing I would say is, look, if we would be thinking about when we want to advertise and bid and that type of thing, where you're making your decisions. So
Okay.
that we can have those discussions on that.
All right, sounds good, thank you.
And Chris, what would be helpful, maybe as we're making those decisions, is to have some concept of how the cash will flow over this next 2 to 3 years. If you think in year 1, we need to be able to cover 5 to 6 million, in year 2, 12.
We can look at that. Some of that'll be a little bit hard because
Just-
it depends
just-
on how the contractor
just-
does it.
Just ballpark it.
But we can,
Yeah.
we
We
try
gotta
to
know
get cash
that,
flow.
because we gotta know what bonds are coming off, and what's bonding capacity.
We've got bonding capacity. We've got capacity.
And I'm just saying that
There's a difference between
moving
capacity
parts.
and cash.
And there's moving parts to that, to say like the electrical side, there's a really long lead time to try to get some of that. And there's high dollar items, so say they wanna try to do stored materials. So on that portion of it, we've got that in there to try to help out their prices.
Right.
So there's some stuff that actually is not gonna be installed for a while, but you're trying to get that
But
price
we'll pay
down,
for it
we'll go ahead
now.
and Pay for it. So
Okay.
that's what I'm saying, it's not with how many different specialty things and with the electrical side into it, it's not so easy of, hey, this is a green project, I'm building a road from here to here, I know I'm gonna put this, this, and this. So it's a little bit there, so it's gonna be, so we're just gonna have to have your squishiness put into it for your cash flow number because of
Okay.
that.
Some
Okay.
contractor finesse is going on too in order to.
And it depends on how they bid, if they front load, and so every contractor's gonna build it differently, and because how they schedule something out. So so that's the other side of it, how they go about the construction side of it, what they're trying to do falls into it. So
Okay.
we'll take the best that we can get at it for you, but there's a lot of moving parts, and once the contractor bids it, he's really driving the train.
And we're gonna issue bonds in millions of dollars, so
That's right.
that's a
That's
pretty
right.
high level bar to.
Yeah, it's just hard for an engineer to zoom out and give you
Yeah.
a cent number.
And let me remind y'all that I have heard from more than one person involved in this, and those that are not on the outside looking in, that this is one of the most complex projects they have ever seen.
The federal highways guy that we have said he's been doing it for 40 years, and it was the most complicated one that he dealt with for 40 years.
Yeah.
Because mostly, they're dealing with green sites and green projects, and you're dealing with a historic.
Retrofit, it's hard.
But it's ours, and we gotta do it.
Yes.
So there's no-
But an appreciation of what these guys are going through and trying to help us make traffic our way through this is important.
Everyone been telling us that from the start.
Yeah.
So, you know,
So,
Officer Strong, you talking about cash and bond, tell me why the differentiation between.
The capacity is how much we can legally borrow. And so that's capped based on a calculation of our assets and issued debt. And that's a 15% limit for general obligation bonds.
Based on your success valuation.
Yeah. So that's the capacity piece of it. The actual cash is what we can afford to pay. So we might be able to have the capacity to bond $50 million, but we can't pay $50 million. So that's the cash part of it. So there will be a point at which we just don't have the ability to borrow more than, because we can't afford to pay more than. So,
but we haven't bumped up against.
But we haven't bumped up against that yet. So, and if the ARPA monies come through, it should be.
We will all smile.
It should be pretty straightforward.
Yes. Pretty much where we expected us to be. So
maybe not exactly how we planned to get there, but we'll be where we're expected to be.
Trust you on web, now let us get in that condition.
We're going to work hard at it. So.
okay.
Mr. Williams, one other question. Is this, I'm sure this is more expensive because this is state highway, right?
Yes, sir.
Significantly more expensive because we on a state, it's not a federal highway anymore, it's a state highway. But we still on state MDOT property, right?
And whenever you do one of these projects, you have to do it to their standards, and Edward can talk about the length of time as far as just taking y'all because of those standards and because of the federal highway dollars and the federal issues that you have to go through. So all of that side and some of your design needs reflect that as well because of the requirements and the reporting that's required on there. So it is, if you were doing it at
Jackson Street, it'd be different, a little bit.
It would be much different, and we'd have a lot more flexibility to be able to hit what price points you want to hit and have your budget and figure out what you want to do and that type of thing, because you have the flexibility because it would be your requirements that you're meeting. So it would cost more because of that.
Okay.
So.
All right. So,
One last finance thing for HAMP. And anybody else who's interested in finance stuff, is when we bond this out, it will take us 2 or 3 months or a bit more to actually bond it out. And because of that, the first payment won't be due until probably January, February of '24. So we will have another budget cycle to go through to talk about this. So we'll have an opportunity to correct any,
and if we get ARPA
anything
money,
we need to.
have to bond it out that soon.
We might not.
Yeah.
We might not. So we just see.
It's gonna suck up a lot of our ARPA money, these two big projects.
It's
we got.
gonna suck up
All of it.
every bit of it.
All of it, right.
Every dollar of it. But that can be front loaded for us to pay for it with what we've got. We got $6 million sitting in the bank right now because we've been paid our ARPA money. So we're just waiting on that other $6 million. But we can pay up to $6 million right now with what we got. So, okay. All right, go through our agenda. We got 2 sets of minutes. Mr. Latimer, you're good with those?
I provided revisions to Lisa, and she's working on those. We'll have those rounded out by the end of the day, so.
Okay. All right.
I've done those, I've made all those revisions, I just failed to email them to him, but they just got emailed to you.
Okay, all right, we're good. Consent on those? Okay. Mr. Carver, before I lose you, because since you're not going to be able to kind of follow along, was there anything else that you wanted to have input on?
No, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you. We'll have some new, actually we'll have a good number of new employee introductions, which I will look forward to. We're going to have one public hearing. Mr. Haviland, there you are. Provide information on this one?
Yes, this is a variance request for the University Crossing Shopping Center. And what they're doing, they're kind of similar.
Remind everybody where it is.
Yes, please.
That is the shopping center where Starbucks is.
Yes. Little
Okay.
Caesar,
Across
Starbucks.
McDonald's, toward campus
Yes.
side of Highway 12.
The liquor store.
So they're gonna do a remodel of the building in the front. They're adding square footage. This was kind of triggering all this. They're gonna completely redo the parking lot, like how it flows, the structure of it. They're adding landscaping, all of that. As part of that, they're requesting a variance on the parking setbacks with a few spots, just the way the parking's built now, that it just gets a little narrower than 5 feet. And then they're also asking for a variance on stormwater requirements. because it is an existing parking lot and they're using the existing under base or whatever. It just cost prohibitive for them to actually.
Well, they're putting in some landscaping though, aren't they? So
Yes,
it's
they're gonna
mitigating
be
it to an
reducing the
extent.
total amount of imperviousness.
Yeah.
So they're not increasing it, so it's not gonna make it any worse than it currently is.
Okay, but it is right now one of our problem children of our parking lots of centers. So this will be a big improvement. We're in desperate need of them to come in and redo it. So, and there's it on the screen there. So, and this will be a public hearing. I just want to make sure everybody knew what we were talking about, where we were talking about. So, any questions of this? Sir?
Flood over there?
Not to my knowledge. Do we have anybody got any?
There was
ideas?
an issue with some neighbors that came over from the subdivision.
From the Starkville subdivision, we had a couple of, I think Chestine was one, and I can't remember the other, but they came and had some complaint. It was not really as much drainage, it's more like stagnant water. They may come Tuesday night, I'm not sure, but I'm planning to meet with them either Monday or Tuesday and walk the ditch. It's mostly private property, which we really can't maintain, but if there's any low-hanging fruit the city can provide, we'll do that, but we're gonna assess it anyway.
So let's look at water draining it on the parking lot.
It's less than a flood issue from the parking lot, it's more of it has nowhere to go once it gets onto their private property.
Is it going back to the west, or is it water?
Southwest.
Southwest.
The back corner, kind of southwest corner.
I believe it winds up in Hollis Creek eventually.
And the houses behind it are the ones you're talking about that may have.
Yes, sir.
That's the question.
Well, yes, to the
Well,
southwest.
no matter how you slice it, what they're doing is going to be mitigating some of it because they're putting in some landscape. They're improving it. No matter how you
Landscaping and some
look at
curb,
it.
they're channelizing it a
Yeah.
little bit, so, yeah.
It'll help.
And they've verbally offered to help with the ditch there some if they can while they're under construction. The contractor has.
You're talking about the ditch now, you talking about that old road that used to go down through
It's
there?
a ditch that ran alongside of the old road,
That's
on the
right.
west side of the old road.
Okay.
Right before
You
it
did
gets
go
to where
back.
the detention pond is for
Been
the
around.
RV park and that development. That's right.
Okay, good. Well, either way it goes, it'll be good all the way around for improving that area.
When they, the spirits are asking for on flow water, I mean, I know we have 100-year flow water thing now, right, Danny? I mean,
That's right,
Yes.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and this would be to just maintain what the existing flood control that they had, that this center's had for years.
Yeah, they were built prior to any regulations.
That's right.
So they didn't build a conveyance system into the parking lot for that, and they don't have a detention system for that. So they're asking not to have to totally rip out everything to build that.
I'm practicing doing this work, I mean, that's the, but at the same time, if water starts moving pretty fast in the parking lot, some type of something on that west side of where that parking, that pavement ends, where it would negatively impact somebody, house that backs up that way, so.
I'm sure
Y'all
Cody will be able to come up with something.
Cody,
They're
y'all-
actually hoping to improve it. They're gonna, the curb is kind of fallen into the ditch, is what I understand, and so the water is really sheet flowing right into the ditch. They're gonna repair the curb, which will bring it further south. So I think that it will help. Yes, sir.
Now, this is just on the site plan though. If you've seen plans on the building, what they're trying to do on the building, you still got a setback 25
Yeah,
feet.
the building, the way they're doing the addition on it, they're gonna meet the setbacks.
Meet the setback?
Yeah, they're taking down the part that's within the setback, which is that old canopy for the
Right.
drive-through. That's being removed, and what they're adding back won't violate the setback.
That's on the corner, right?
Mhm.
The
So
old
it's
cadence
just the
back.
parking setbacks, but not any building setbacks that are an issue.
Okay.
Okay, that will be a public hearing, and then we'll have consideration of that, so you get to do it all over again on Tuesday.
Well, Cody's doing it, so.
Okay, that's right, you're not gonna be here. So Cody, it's yours on Tuesday.
Got it.
And the applicant, before you go away, Dane, who's the applicant?
John Granberry is representing the applicant.
Is
The
he? Okay.
applicant is Highway 12 East LLC.
Okay, well,
And they're
we'll have a
representing that
representative there, though, right? What is the plan?
Yeah,
Okay.
he'll be there because he's also the other case.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, under mayor's business, we have, and for those of you who might not have been at the sanitation department recently, we have an old, it was the dog pound back before there was a Humane Society, then it was the Humane Society used it, and it is dilapidated, nasty, and it needs to go. And so we're gonna tear down the fuel farm, tear down that old building, and there's a big old tank back there that I'm hoping to get rid of as well. But the reason this is on here is because we weren't sure if it was listed on the city's asset list. And so we wanted to make sure that we were doing it correctly and putting it on there so that we'll have a record of what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we don't want to run afoul of Shad White.
Mayor,
Yes.
where exactly is that building located?
You know where the sanitation, excuse me, the sanitation maintenance area and maintenance areas where the old fuel farm was?
Okay, yes, ma'am.
It's that old building there that used to be the dog pound.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
A lot need to be cleaned up over there.
Well, it is, and we're gonna work on it. We're gonna work on it. So anyway, this is step number one.
Step one.
All right, so,
Consent.
thank you. Okay, consent for that one. And then we have, oh, this one just appeared. Okay, consideration to appoint Nancy Hargrove. She was the sole applicant for the library board. Consent for that one? Okay, thank you. Under community development planning, Daniel, you wanna run with this one as well?
Yeah, this is kind of something that doesn't come up very often. This is an administrative appeal. And what they're appealing is a decision by the city engineer and the city planner for a road type for the access road for the development behind Walmart Neighborhood Market. We both came up with the determination that the correct road type should be a boulevard type like Market Street. The applicant has no issue, but the landowner he's acquiring the land from to build the road did not want that road type. So he offered up a proposal of a kind of a modified version of one of our existing road types in the code, which would be two 13-foot lanes plus a 10-foot bike path lane, multi-use pathway separated from it. So that's the one they're proposing, but it's not the boulevard type that we required. So this appeal is to allow for that road type.
Okay, and I'm gonna flesh this out a little bit for everybody. I sat in on a meeting, and Mr. Shelton Jones is the one who owns the property, and he is absolutely adamant that he will not have a boulevard. He will not.
Just
he will
hates
not
them?
provide. Doesn't like them. Doesn't want them. And you know, to each his own. It's his property. He's offering to set it up so that Mr. York can develop the property behind it. But he absolutely will not do it if it's a boulevard. So what we worked through was to make sure that if we can come far enough off of the west side to allow it to have a good canopy of trees, have a pedestrian and a bike area, then it would make it a much more palatable road into the new development. And so that's what this is about. So,
Is that on the backside of the Walmart store?
yes, it's on the
Yeah,
east
behind
side.
the east
of
side,
yes,
west,
it's
right?
on the east side.
Yeah, that's that image right there.
But the road was originally designed to hug up against the berm there. But he's allowed us to say, okay, we'll move it further to the east, plant a canopy of trees and make it attractive so that you'll have some big tall trees that'll make it a nice entry into that other area. But that was the compromise.
This ties into that thing north of?
Yes, that Mr. York is trying to develop as a mixed use project. Yes, sir.
Engineer, what you think about it? What you think about it?
Well, we felt it was just consistent to make the applicant go through this process because we feel just to be consistent, we wanted to continue the boulevard. But this one is tricky because the project just won't happen unless the landowner that's given up the land is comfortable with it, and he will not be comfortable with the boulevard.
So what's the downside to us?
So the reason
Is there any?
well, so whenever this road section was picked originally with Walmart, we knew that a Walmart was going to occur. And so those tend to attract lots of development. So if you look at the tax map, really large parcels that are probably going to subdivide. And so what we're trying to prevent is kind of what you get at the entrance of Kroger, where it's just driveway, craziness everywhere. And so with the boulevard, you really designate your ingress and your egress. You define points of access so that the traffic is not just cutting all over the place. So it was a vision to provide the best roadway type for lots of development in the future.
Boulevard got the center, what you talking about, got to.
Yes, sir.
But this won't, this just be a regular two-lane road, right?
That's right.
Well, and the way we control it, and this is what I would say, is when they come in to do something on that new property, when they want to divide it up and subdivide it and create something, we can then define where those ingress and egress points are, so that we don't end up with just a full lane of craziness,
So we'll control all that.
Yeah, and that's the thing we've tried to communicate is actually the roadway type has no bearing on where those access points are going to be. Whether it's a 16-lane highway or a 2-lane road, those access points will be defined. So that's why we held the line on the boulevards, because it really doesn't change anything for Mr. Jones.
What the safety of it?
Sorry.
How safe it gonna be?
That with all the cross traffic, the safety, the boulevard was the most safe option in our opinion, which is why we required it. I think that what was the planning and zoning? The Board of Justice Appeals vote, I think it was 3-2.
Yes, on this issue, they're actually 3-2 for approval.
Well, it is not ideal, but considering what the concession that we can make to make it an attractive street, and allow this development to occur, which he's ready to move on. It just seemed like it was a reasonable, particularly with some control later on as the rest of that, as the rest of Mr. Jones' property developed. He owns most of that to the east. So he is going to be coming to develop it, he or some of his family are going to come in to develop it at some point in time, and we will still have, on the record, we will have that the egress and ingress points are extremely significant to us from a safety standpoint and from a control point.
Our code will dictate whether we have, whether we
Yes, sir.
permit ingress, egress.
Our access
for future
management policy, yes, sir.
commercial development.
Even if it's a really large lot and it's defined by the frontage, so even if it's subdivided into smaller lots, it's still treated as a single lot from an access perspective.
And considering the difficulty of this and the conversation, we'll leave it off consent. All right, thank you. All right, so engineering, we have advertising for construction bids for the bill grant, which is what we were just talking about, so consent. All right, thank you. Claims docket, we have the approval of the municipal compliance questionnaire, which is pro forma, and Ms. Harden's got all the information she needs in there. All right, consent for that one. Permission for the Starkville Fire Department to develop a student firefighter program. Chief, you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes,
I think that's a great program.
You pass these out.
Sure.
Let's try.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to talk about this. This was another opportunity for recruitment. We looked at different ways to recruit new firefighters. What we have found out is, I came across this program probably about 4 months ago. I went to Mobile, Auburn University does this program. Very successful. I think they got 110 firefighters, 89 firefighters that have been through this program. So basically, they started in college, they work their way through college, they graduate, and most of them never leave the fire service. They pretty much stay in the fire service. So it's a really good program. Here we have right now, I think 2 or 3 that we took through the hiring process. Of course, they're waiting on this program to be adopted before we can bring them in. So right now, we probably have up to 3, probably 1 per year. They'll be able to get off to go to class, come back from class. They're college students, they'll be having a full-time job and be a full-time college student at the same time. I think it's great because we're offering benefits. They can pay for some of the, talking to one of them, he's paying right now in pocket college, so this will give him an opportunity to pay his tuition. In addition to that, it also allow them to gain work experience. And at the end of it, we hope they'll stay. You know, we never know. Most of them got 3 years left in college. They want to be firefighters. They want to live in the city of Starkville, so they'll be right here. They already be on our department. So,
do you have any cap number? Capped
How
5
many
of
hours
them at the
they can
most,
take?
6 of them at the
I would
most,
say
2 of them at the most?
3
3 at the
per
most?
shift. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, and that was, what number would that be? Ma'am, do you, there you are, a number for the schooling, that sort of thing? Do we have a financial number that we can project on that?
So they'll be full-time employees. As far as the rate, we don't know exactly how much it's gonna cost us because we don't know. One has provided us with a class schedule, but we don't know the other class schedule, so I don't know exactly how many hours they're gonna work within that 24-hour shift.
But to your question, we don't pay full tuition for our employees, do we? It would just be limited to 6 hours or something like that.
It is.
So
We can run some rough numbers.
We're gonna pay for 6 hours at school,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many is Albany right now? At Auburn, how many people they have?
They have 89 of their 1 team.
I mean, current right now.
Right.
How many of them actually work doing this program?
I think it's 56.
Out of 89, and 56 of them are currently in the program?
They have 50-some people.
Yes.
But that's not a full-time?
Or students and firemen and all.
Yes. And they work, and one of the big deals, they got to take 1 semester off, and basically do that semester, they take off to help cover the backfield. So they got a waiting list, about 100 people get on.
That sounds like it's extremely successful. That'll work in.
We've been doing it since 1989, so it's worked since 1989, so.
So, and you said one per shift
One per
times
shift.
4 to 5 stations, depending, so 12 to 15 employees potentially.
No, just gonna do one per shift, so three total.
So not one per shift
Per fire station?
One per shift.
One per shift.
You're talking.
So
it's
three.
total.
Start with 3, and then you can
Okay.
expand it as
Right,
you,
we see how that
so,
worked out.
Okay.
Okay, so so you will be, you will have, this will make an additional person at the fire station, because they're gonna have to go to class, and you've still gotta be manned. So this is an additional person on
No,
each.
right now, we're doing it now. When they go shift, we'll just cover the shift. That's why we're only gonna do one. Because right at this point right now, we put them on a truck that's got 4 people. They take off from that truck, we still have 3 people in that truck, so we still can cover that truck with that person. So that's why we're doing it like they're only one, because I want to have 3 or 4 in to have backfill. This won't cause any overtime, it'll be making the class.
Well, that's
So-
what, I
so
guess
three-
that's what I
three-
was saying, is yes, that
Yes, ma'am.
that it'll be in addition to, okay.
so 3 is the minimum, 4 is a better operational model. And so most of the time you will have 4, but when
Yes,
he's in
ma'am.
class, you'll drop down to the minimum and then staff back up. Okay.
Okay.
And if there's a fire, he can skip class that day, huh?
We'll pay 6 hours of the school.
Up to 6, yes, sir.
And they become employees, so they're gonna get some semblance of, they get full-time, what kind of pay?
It's full-time employee, yes.
And they'll get on PERS, get on benefit, health insurance, that kind of stuff.
Get
That's all their
started.
education.
Yes, sir.
And probably gain employment when they come out, it's a lot of.
The two I talked to, they definitely want to be firefighters, so when they graduate, they plan to be
You don't think
starfighters.
it's blood or even some interest, more, so, okay, that's pretty good, so, it's good.
Really nice program. And any reason for us to have to coordinate with MSU on this, or is this?
No, I talked to Dr. Hyatt, she's very excited about it, she's waiting out to the board, makes a decision on it. Once we do that, Mississippi State, she said whatever they can do to help out, to ease it.
Okay.
And one of the big things, we get a big structure fire, if they can leave class, and they can try to get something worked out with their instructors on that, so. Other than that, she's excited about it.
Okay, it's a win-win.
And
Okay.
you want them to keep a GPA.
Geez, we get, look, so we roll this thing out, let's get some population for us, and I know MSU will want that, you know, because every time we show that we're partnering with universities, and this is something, to high profile, you know, a high profile new program, and, you know, we talk about how, all, you know, just, let's roll this now and make it good.
So I'm guessing consent on this.
Yes. That's great, Chief.
All right, so we have a number of hires. We have entry-level firefighters, again, consent for that. We have a promotion in the fire department, consent for that one. Hiring a police officer, another success, consent for that one. Hiring a wastewater operator, I know Edward's happy about that. Consent for that one. Hire Mr. Blackwell as an aircraft lineman. I believe Rodney's in need as well. Consent. And then part-time civil engineer intern, which I believe Cody had shared that with us. So consent for that one. All right. Sanitation department. We are in need of a 25-yard rear load of garbage. Anything you wish to share with us about that, Chris?
No more than this, the one that y'all gave me permission to look into back in June, and I
Right.
kind of just did some homework on different trucks, and in conclusion, this pretty much replacing the 2002 Sterling garbage truck.
Okay.
Is this a sole purchase, I mean, sole source, or do you bid this out, or what?
This is the lowest quote.
Lowest quote, you already got the lowest quote on it.
Consent.
Consent.
Get up about what they were,
Yes, sir.
All right. Consideration of a radiator replacement. Consent for that one. And then we have utilities, the lowest quote from Control Systems, magnetic flow meter. Anything about this one, Edward, we need to know about?
Just
No?
our current one went out, we need to
Okay.
replace it.
Well, consent. All right. And then approval to purchase, to advertise for RFPs for customer information systems. What's this going to do for us?
This is our main customer information software that we use for all of our billing, accounting, employee portal, customer portals. We've been in a current contract with vendor SEBC for a good period of time, and that contract is due to expire in the spring of 2024. So we're just putting it out there to see what other options are on the market,
Okay.
not necessarily committed to moving one way or the other, just to see what other options are out there. And if we do decide to go with another vendor, it'll be a 9 to 12 month
Transition?
process.
Okay, all right, well, thank you very much.
Consent.
Consent for that one. All right, we have one item that'll be under executive session, and other than that, that completes our agenda. So, thank you, everyone. We will adjourn until we see each other on Tuesday with this.